It was 40 years of my life,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right from the age of 16
Mm-hmm.
to, when I finally did retire, it wasn't on my own accord.
Yeah,
When I was 17, I was able to buy my first brand new car, all cash,
yeah,
because I'd still lived at home.
yeah.
I called you, played myself off as a member of the K9 unit, and
Yeah,
that I'd
right.
heard what you had done and that it was an arrestable offense.
Have
Well, it looks like a
shared your
cheese
thoughts.
grater.
Yeah,
It
it's
looks like one of those things that you make julienne fries from. It's a banjo.
Welcome back to Off the Record. I'm your host, Jordan Rance. In today's episode, I'm joined by a man who's been in my life since 2011. My stepdad, his name's Chris. He's a car guy, a music junkie, a movie lover, and though he doesn't mean to be, a pretty hilarious guy.
Yeah.
Chris spent 4 decades working as a correctional officer before a traumatic event forced him to walk away. We talk about his career inside the prison system, how he met my mom, maybe some unexpected wedding jitters, and why he thinks people watching is the best free entertainment out there. It's raw, it's funny, and filled with real moments. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Chris to the show, and let's get into it. Welcome, Chris. I'm so happy to have
Thank
you on.
you. I'm happy to be here, Jordan.
How you doing? Good,
I'm doing
good,
pretty good today.
good.
Doing pretty good. You?
Yeah, you know what? Good. I mean, it's kind of funny. I got the times mixed up. Um,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was,
We were doing a 2 o'clock, and
yeah,
I'm thinking 2 o'clock Winnipeg time. You're
mhm,
thinking your time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because usually I record at 2 my time, but
Hmm.
then, so that's when I set the Zoom meeting up for initially. But then
Oh,
I looked
okay.
at, when I sent you the message initially asking if you wanted to be on the show, I had said 2 p.m. your time. So then I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that,
And see, I didn't even see the 2 p.m. my time. I just assumed it was 2
right, right.
p.m.
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So good. I'm glad we got that all squared away and
Oh, yeah.
everything. Yeah. Have you ever been on a podcast or any sort of thing like that?
No, never,
No?
never,
No? How
no.
you feeling about, like, do you consume podcasts? Like, do you listen to them, watch them,
You know what? I've never
or have
done
you
any
ever?
podcasts, never watched any other than yours.
Yeah.
Yours are the ones I've started.
Uh-huh, yeah.
I would imagine anything of interest. A couple of times I thought about getting together with some of my retired coworkers
Yeah.
and putting together a podcast, about prison, after the afterlife of prison,
Wow, yeah.
stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
What, like, is that still on the table or is that, you kind of,
I really haven't found. I mean, my occupation kind of breeds a certain type of individual, and so you got to find somebody who's got that same mental grasp,
yeah.
and which isn't too hard with the guys I used to work with, but a lot of them are very shy about
Yeah, yeah.
getting
I
on
don't
the
know,
airwaves.
same type
Yeah,
of personality, yeah.
and we'd still have to check out the legalities of what we are allowed to say and what we're not allowed
Right.
to say.
Yeah, there's
So,
lot of
oh,
that
definitely.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You used to be a radio DJ, which I think it's always funny because you call it a disc jockey, which I
Oh,
know
yeah.
that's what it stands for. It's just funny how, like, I think you're the
Well,
only person I've
originally,
ever heard.
originally I started out as a disc jockey for Saints Roller Rink,
Right. Okay. So
and
you were
that
like
led to
the
some part-time work in
MC.
some of the local stations. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's basically you play the records for the kids that are skating,
Hmm.
and to their dismay, they gave us a microphone. So I love to talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I made it
Yeah.
into a disc jockey job like that, rather than just saying a word or two and putting on the music.
Right. Right.
I used to like to have fun and play, and
Yeah.
yeah, it just kind of continued on.
Yeah.
And how I became a correctional officer. Well, I mean,
It's pretty
that
different
that's
field. Yeah.
well, yeah, it's a far cry,
Yeah.
but it's as it turned out, it really wasn't, because I could still say what I wanted to say,
Hmm.
and kind of control situations the way I wanted to.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked hand in hand.
That's cool. That's cool. How did you like ever get the disc jockey job? Like you just because I know getting jobs back way back whenever was a lot different than how it is
Well, it
today.
was.
You could
It
probably
was.
just walk into places and
For me, though, it was I had a friend.
okay,
I had a
that
friend
probably
who was
helps. Yeah.
already in the business,
Right. Right. Right.
and he vouched for me. And
That's
and
good.
back then, they really, a lot of radio stations didn't really rely on broadcast school because it
Yeah.
really wasn't a big thing back then.
Right.
It was just a lot of crazy ass guys who could talk for hours and
Yeah.
had cool voices.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that made you a radio host, or back in our day, a DJ, a disc jockey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That reminds me because you had said how you had a friend. Like that reminds me just about like for acting, um,
mhm.
eh, all about connections, like the people you know.
Oh, it is.
Do you think like you still, if you were to just walk into that roller rink with a resume and been like, I got this, or like I want to do this, do you think that would have how would that have differed? Is that a word? Differed? Uh, if you didn't have a like the friend that was in there.
Oh, I mean, for me, again,
Like, it
I've
was the
always
friend the like deciding factor? Like, oh, just because he knows a guy, like, yeah, we'll bring him in, or
no, no, I don't. I mean, you do a tryout too,
oh,
so
okay,
they want to see what you've got and how your voice sounds, especially sounds over the radio because everybody's voice sounds different,
yeah,
in person than it
hmm,
does over social media or over radio.
yeah,
So I mean, they give you tryouts and they see how you fit in.
right.
If you do a lot of
The filler words, yeah,
how, yeah, exactly, how
yeah,
you carry yourself and how you float the conversation.
yeah,
So even if I didn't have a friend, I still would have tried
right,
because I love to talk.
yeah.
I've always thought that was my God given
Strong
talent.
suit. Strong
They
suit. Yeah,
say everybody's got a given talent,
yeah.
and I think
Talking's,
whether it's good or not, good or bad or ugly, mine's been talking.
yeah, yeah.
So, and
That's good.
that saved me 40 years in behind the wall,
Yeah.
working in corrections
Hmm.
because using my words got me out of a lot of beatings, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's something I wish I had. I was talking one of my other guests. I don't remember which one it was, but I was saying it could be a kind of ironic the fact that I'm doing a podcast because I've always been the type of person where um, I don't generally have a lot to say. It's not that I've really ever been shy, but there's just a lot that's just I don't know. I don't really say much, so it's kind of interesting that me of all people are doing a podcast.
Well, you're
But
broadening your horizons, which,
yeah,
as an up and coming actor, that's some of the best things that you can do.
yeah, yeah,
It's going to help you.
yeah,
I would think it'll help you tons in your acting career.
right.
Get you used to talking in front of a microphone, get you used to talking in front of a camera, get you used to just being you and
Yeah,
natural and
yeah.
relaxed.
Hmm. I think it's what's also helping me is just talking to people as well,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
because first impressions are a huge thing.
Hmm.
Um, if you that first time, if you mess that up, that could be the deciding factor on whether someone works with you or
Hmm.
they I don't know, depending on how bad that is. Yeah. Cool
Well,
stuff.
like they say, you either razzle and dazzle them with brilliance or you baffle them with bullshit. You just got
Yeah.
to learn to be comfortable and you got to learn to talk and let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're getting a lot better in that than when we first met. You've come
Mm,
like huge way.
mm. Thanks.
You're doing tons more than I thought you would. You're in, living on your own.
Yeah.
And not just living on your own in the same province or the same city. I mean, you're out there,
Mm. Yeah.
so
Think about
you're
that a lot.
growing in
Yeah.
leaps and bounds for
Yeah.
sure.
Hmm. Yeah. I never would have thought, even 5 years ago, that this is
Hmm.
what life would be. Um, and I'm pretty happy for it. I mean, sure,
Yeah,
it's
there
been
you go.
hard. There's a hard adjustment, but it's all for the
Yeah.
best, I think.
Trials and tribulations. I mean, you
Yeah.
talk to any any actor
Hmm.
worth their weight in gold,
Hmm.
and they'll all tell you about the days that they were living on ketchup sandwiches
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
not making very much money at all,
Hmm.
living in their vehicles.
Yeah.
So, everybody pays their dues.
Yeah. Which I hope for me it doesn't ever get to that point. I'm gonna like try my absolute damnedest to make sure I
Yeah.
always have a
No.
home. But
You hope that right now
yeah.
this is your low point. This is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
struggling point, and
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching a clip from you know who Joe Rogan is.
yep.
Yeah. He was saying how he had this like shitty small New York apartment, and all he had was
Mhm.
like a bed and like a tiny little TV.
Yep.
And he was saying in the clip, like, that was the best for him, right? That was his home. That was like, he was like, oh
Well,
man, like this is my place. This is
yeah.
right. This is as good as it gets, right? And then he was saying when he moved to LA, got this big penthouse apartment. It was, this dream, right? Yeah, it's you really saw the difference, in where he was
And
and where he is. Yeah.
what he did then was he knew that he didn't have the best of anything,
Yeah.
but he knew he had something,
Hmm.
and something's like, as we all know, something's better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
So you go with what you got,
Yeah.
and as you get more, you appreciate it more.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a hell of a lot better way. Your way is the best way to do it because you're going to appreciate everything that you've learned, everything that you've done,
Hmm.
everything from the first tiny little commercial where you get a one little blip
Hmm.
to a full motion picture.
Yeah.
It's just the road you're traveling,
Yeah.
and it's going to give you everything and make you who you are.
Yeah.
You've already look at who you are now just from what you've experienced to date.
Hmm. Hmm. There's definitely a sense of like appreciation and sort of like a humbling
Hmm.
aspect of it, because
Hmm.
when that success shows up, um, after the years or however long of work, it's you look back and you're like, wow, I've done this
Come
because I've put
come a
in
long
the
way.
work. Yeah.
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 And you can be proud of that. Nothing was given
Hmm.
to you.
Yeah.
Nothing was handed to you,
Yeah.
and nobody can ever come across in the future and
Yeah.
say, "Oh, he's only who he is because of who he is."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can't say that about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Are
You
you?
who you are because you fought to be who you were.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you familiar with like nepotism?
Oh,
It's
of
when
course.
you're, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, funny you should bring that up because when I first started in corrections, I was only 16.
Yeah.
And it was because of my father, who
Hmm.
was a correctional officer,
Right.
and him and his buddies got me into the job at 16 years of age.
Yeah.
And about a year later, our local, the Winnipeg Free Press, did an article on nepotism in the government, in the provincial government. And they said the worst case scenario was corrections. And they were right
Yeah.
because all of us at Headingley, we were all sons or cousins or brothers or uncles or aunts. Everybody was related somehow.
Wow.
And it was funny that you say that because even my name was in the paper. My father's name was there, and right under
Wow.
him was
Eh?
me. And yeah, because I mean, for corrections especially, it's especially back in those days, it was a very different group of people. Only a certain set of people would apply for that job.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was a lot of father son.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it's funny you should bring up nepotism
Yeah.
because yeah, I
Yeah.
was mentioned in it in a local paper. So,
Well, I mean,
but that was many
yeah.
many years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. 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 Well, I mean, it can work, I guess, sometimes, right? I mean, obviously, I think it did for you. You lived a long, fulfilling, hopefully, you feel fulfilled for that career. That was a
Well,
long
I
time,
mean,
almost your
it's
whole life, but,
it was 40 years of my life,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right from the age of 16
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to when
Mm-hmm.
I finally did retire. It wasn't on my own accord.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Uh, I wasn't quite ready to go yet. I
Yeah.
wasn't at the facility anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I did 40 years with the provincial government,
Yeah.
but I actually did 36 years behind the wall, or what we
Oh,
call
okay.
behind the wall
Right.
in the
Right.
prison.
Behind the wall.
Uh,
Okay.
on the 36th year, I had my critical incident,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was just one of, I mean, hundreds of incidences
Yeah.
that occurred.
Mm-hmm.
This one happened to end, unfortunately, in the passing of an individual
Yeah.
who overdosed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Um, but it was that at that point, I guess my mind told me that that was it. I was done.
Right. Yeah.
I'd seen enough. I'd done enough.
Absolutely.
It's it's a pretty crazy beast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what most people think or expect.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, when I was young, it was something that you never really talked about. If somebody asked you what you did, you just told them you worked for the provincial government. You
Oh,
never
really? It was
expanded.
a kind of like a confidential thing almost.
Well, you never expanded because there was just, you never knew who you were talking to. You never knew what group you would be around.
Right.
Um, a lot of times correctional officers, especially back then when I started, we were compared more to the police. We were, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if somebody saw us on the street, they would consider it the same as if they saw an off-duty police officer on the street.
Right. Yeah.
Some would greet that with violence. Some would greet that with a kind gesture or a smile and a hello. Depends on the individual that you were
Yeah.
and how
Right.
you acted in jail, how you held yourself as a correctional officer.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you had mentioned quite a few times that you always tried to be like respectful. You showed the inmates with integrity because, well, I mean, when they
Well,
deserved it, I guess, and you also gave them you know, you put them in their place when they needed to be.
well,
But
I would tell inmates that,
yeah.
living in a correctional facility, it's a two-way street, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the only world we have
Mm-hmm.
is in the facility. So, yeah, you either, you can either make me be a correctional officer. In other words, you can act out, or you can do illegal dealings inside the prison or in front of me,
Yeah.
and then I have to act. I have to be a guard, and I have to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
And if push comes to shove, if you're going to fight a correctional officer, well, I'm siding with my side. I'm siding with the corrections officer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
if I've got to do something that's got to you know put you in a neutral position, then I have to do what I have to do.
Yeah.
If you hold a grudge, that's up to you.
Mm.
But it was always, if you treat me with respect, I'll treat you with respect,
Yeah.
because that could be any one of us.
Yeah.
It, it's that fine
Exactly.
of a
Yeah.
line,
Yeah.
to going to jail. And I know if I ever wound up in jail, I always thought, how would I want to be treated?
Right.
And would I want to be shown respect if I showed respect?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it worked well for me. I never had any issues inside or outside the correctional facility that were personal attacks on me personally.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good.
So, yeah.
That's good. Were you ever like afraid of something happening? Like you'd mentioned, if
Oh,
someone's gonna hold a grudge, right? Like,
you're always afraid that, I mean, if a person that tells you that works that job, whether it's, police officer, correctional officer, if they tell you they're not afraid, they're either lying or they're insane,
yeah.
because you just never know. I mean, you ask three-quarters of police officers if they would actually work in a correctional facility, and they tell you never.
Really? Wow. Hey.
Well, because as a police officer, you can walk down a street where maybe one in 40, or I mean, now in this day and age, the number's probably more like one in 10, one
Mm.
in 15 would want to hurt you. As opposed to a correctional officer, when we walk down our street, everybody's a potential to hurt us,
Right.
because everybody's locked up and everybody's already in there for a reason or a purpose. So,
Yeah.
for a police officer, their only concern is when they arrest the individual. And when they arrest the individual, respond to a call and arrest the individual, they're with them a couple of hours.
Right. And then they
I used I
can
used
move
to live
on.
with
Yeah.
guys. I used to live with guys for months.
Yeah.
Years. I
Yeah.
would have guys on my unit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so you just never know.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, police officer, far more crazy job.
Mm.
But corrections, we hold a real close second to
Yeah.
police work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know,
I mean, yeah, like even when I was a kid, I didn't really know the difference, and I'll bring up the funny story that you probably remember. Hopefully,
yeah,
when I had again, I was a kid, very little. I don't know how old I would have been here, but very young, and I had hit our dog because he was a bad, right? And at the time, I didn't think it was anything too intense. Like I obviously didn't, the dog is fine, right? For the people listening, watching, right? The dog that was fine, but it was a lesson, a teaching moment. And my mom and Chris had already been working together, and I received a phone call from what I thought was the police, which happened to be Chris on the phone. This is before I knew him. Uh, you want to talk a bit about that, or
yeah.
yeah,
I remember your mom coming up to me. We were working together in the medical unit,
yeah,
and she had mentioned the incident, and she asked me if I could do a favor and give you a call
yeah,
and try and put the fear into you about hitting the dog.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, I had no problem doing that.
right,
Um, I mean, I've always been a crazy practical joker. I love doing practical jokes. I love
hmm,
doing prank calls,
yeah,
all that stuff. Even
yeah,
as an adult, I love doing it.
yeah.
And yeah, I called you. I played myself off as a member of the K9 unit
Oh,
and
yeah,
that I'd
that's right.
heard what you had done and that it was an arrestable offense for abusing an animal. And I remember you talking to me. I could hear the fear in your voice.
Yeah,
And then I remember the next day your mother telling me that when she got home,
I don't
that
remember the
you were
aftermath. Yeah.
just in tears. When she walked into the house, you were in tears thinking that I was coming to get you and
Oh
take you to
my
jail.
goodness.
So yeah, it worked well because she said you never raised a hand to the dog again,
Yeah,
no matter what.
yeah, yeah,
So it worked
absolutely.
out pretty well.
Yeah, it sure
Yeah.
did.
Oh, I'll
It sure
remember
did.
that one forever.
Yeah. No, I
That
remember
was a funny
exactly where
one.
I was when I received that phone call. I yeah, I was in the living room of our childhood house, and yeah, I think I was even right in front of the front door. It's one of those things where like you remember every last detail of like where you were and sort of thing. Yeah. But it's like you said, it sure worked because right, I couldn't
Excuse me.
imagine doing something like that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, right? So
No, it worked very well.
yeah,
I was very happy to hear that.
yeah,
But yeah, apparently it put the fear in you.
yeah,
And sometimes we all need that. We need
yeah,
that reminder,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Snap us back into reality.
Exactly. Yeah. Uh, Kind of switching up the topics here. You've been a car guy for like,
Hmm.
has this
Ever
been like
since I can remember.
your whole
Yep.
life? Yeah,
Yeah.
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 What
My
got you
dad
into that?
was
Yeah, yeah.
my
Was that?
dad.
You're right, right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My dad, my brother, they were always into cars. Um, my dad used to love going to the stock car races.
Mm,
So we would go to the stock car. My mom loved it as well. So the three of us would pile in the car, and we'd always go. We'd be out at different stock car races. There was used to be two tracks here in the city.
yeah.
Well, one close to the city and one actually in the city.
Oh wow. Hey.
And so we used to hit those all the time. And then going out to Gimli to the drag races.
Right.
If I have to pick a certain vehicle sport, it's drag racing for me.
Yeah.
Always
Yeah.
has been.
Hmm.
Huge fan since I can remember, since I started collecting Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, Always wanted the best of the hot rods. Had my fair share. Went through three Camaros, Went through a couple motorcycles, went through, a myriad of vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What was your first car? I think was it the
My
68?
first, no, 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 my first, very, very first car that I was legally allowed to drive was a 1974 Vegas station wagon,
Okay.
three door. I think they called them, I can't remember even what they called them now, Camry, Cambrent, or Camback is
Okay.
what they used to call them. And it was a three door station wagon. And I mean, that was my first car. You know,
Yeah.
I was 16 years old, and I had just gotten my license.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, I wrote it off. Rear-ended a lady on Portage Avenue, and that
Oh
was the end of
my
that car.
goodness.
Oh yeah,
Only
very
a
good at
couple
that.
weeks.
Yeah, it didn't. But no, I think it was a couple months that
A
I'd
couple months.
had it,
Yeah.
and then yeah, it went kaboom.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, went through just a fistful of cars, Monte Carlos, um, some AMC products, AMC cars,
Yeah.
Hornet, all sorts of different fun vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
bought my first brand new car when I was 17
Right.
because I'd been working in corrections.
Hmm.
And back in those days, minimum wage, I believe, was I think $1.75,
Jeez.
or
Wow.
maybe closer to $2.
Yeah.
And when I started in corrections at 16, I was making just under $11 an hour.
Yeah. You were living.
So,
Yeah.
I was rich.
Yeah.
I was like upper class.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so when I was 17, I was able to buy my first brand new car all cash
Yeah.
because I'd still lived at home.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was pretty cool. That's, I think when I started getting that money and realizing that the job wasn't the most physically demanding job.
Okay.
I mean, you had to fight every now and then, but it wasn't like we were scrapping every single day.
Mhm.
So it was kind of cool. You
Yeah.
know, it was I was making good money and I was like an overpriced babysitter.
Yeah.
You know, except the kids I was babysitting were foul mouthed, were mean,
Mm.
were stinky, were all sorts of different things,
Yeah.
all
Right.
sorts of different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the first car? That was the six, like you're talking the first new car. That's the Camaro.
No, my first new car actually was a 1980. What was it? It was an 84, 83, 84. They called it a Turismo 2.2.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've
it
never
was
even.
a,
I don't know what
yeah,
that
it
looks
was
like.
a
Yeah.
Chrysler product back in
Okay.
the day. And that was the first car I bought, silver with gray interior.
Hmm.
And yeah, and that started the flow. The new Camaro that didn't come. My first Camaro
Yeah.
was actually a 1968 RSSS
Okay.
that I had found. Never got it completely done, but started work on it and then wound up giving up on it and selling it for parts, pieces,
Okay.
and I believe a motorcycle. And then that started my
Okay.
motorcycle craze for a couple of years.
Motorcycles. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, went
Yeah.
through a couple of bikes
Yeah.
and then back to cars again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What do you think is better? Is it cars or motorcycles? What's more exciting? What's more or do they
oh,
both have their
I love both. Both have their
both have their you know?
I mean, you give me a 1968 Camaro, or you give me anything, a 70 Mustang,
Hmm.
a 1969 Corvette Stingray, anything like that is
Hmm.
exciting in its own right, but for its own reasons.
Yeah.
Motorcycles are the same thing. You give me, I'm more of a chopper guy. I like
Right.
the custom bikes,
Yeah.
but you give me a chopper with a nice rake and a nice set of drag bars and a comfortable seat,
Yeah.
and I could ride all night. There's nothing better than the
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't go bare or no helmet or tiny helmet. I've got a full facer, but
Right.
because I mean, it's not my moneymaker, but I like to have it intact and no dents.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, you give me either or. There's advantages and disadvantages to both.
Yeah.
Disadvantage to a car to the hot cars is tickets. Always going fast or
Yeah.
some idiot parking next to you and
Hmm.
scratching it.
Hmm.
Motorcycles, it's somebody not seeing you and paying attention
Yeah.
and swerving and hitting you,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's not just, people that drive cars. You put a guy who rides a motorcycle all his life, you put him behind the wheel of a car, and eventually he's going to cut off a motorcycle. It
Mm,
happens. They're hard to see. We've got to be a lot more mindful,
mm,
but it does happen
mm.
to even the best of us.
Do you think that's why they made like the engines be so loud, or is that just because of
No, no, no. That's engineering.
yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. I didn't know if that was like a
The
purposeful
advantage
thing
to the
or
Harley Davidson is, yeah, you pull that clutch in and rev it. But even doing that, how many times have you been driving or walking down a street and you see an ambulance, fire truck, or a police car sitting behind a vehicle with their sirens screaming,
yeah.
and the person doesn't even hear them or see
Right.
them, doesn't
Right.
pay attention.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So, for motorcycles, you've just got to keep your head on a swivel 24/7.
Right.
Always think that the individual in the car next to you doesn't know you're there,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me of like blind spots and everything. I remember when I first
Mhm.
started driving that was a big thing that was I don't want to say scared of, but I had always been sort of cautious about it cuz
Well, and
yeah,
today's vehicles, that's why you see the blind spot sensors.
right. Mhm.
So now if you're driving, you look in your mirror to turn, to say change lanes, go to your right,
Yeah.
and if the light's on, that's telling you that there's a vehicle,
Mhm.
some vehicle, whether it's
Mhm.
a motorcycle or a car, but they're close enough that if you change lanes, you'll hit them. You
Yeah.
can't change that lane; it's not safe.
Right. Well, I know with your guys's with your Jeep, it
Yep.
doesn't it like beep at you? Doesn't it make like an
It
alarm almost?
warns, yeah, it warns you. It'll also warn you if you're, like, whenever you go to a turning lane and there's two lanes. If you don't take the curb lane, the median lane,
Yeah.
I should say, it'll beep as you start turning because it detects that car beside you, and the car shouldn't be there. So
Yeah.
yeah, it gives you a warning that something's there. The vehicle will also, if you're going forward and a vehicle crosses your path in front of you, it'll give you a warning right up to the point where it'll actually start applying the brakes.
Oh, really? Wow, like
Yeah, and
automatically.
it'll start screaming at you, and
Wow.
it's got this
That's really
big
cool.
brake, yeah, this big brake light that comes on,
Yeah.
and it'll start slowing the vehicle down. Same
Wow.
with lane change. With the Jeep, if you start wandering,
Yeah.
it'll make a noise, and then it kind of jerks your vehicle over to whichever way to put it in the middle of the lane again.
Wow. That's so cool with
Yeah.
like the technology that's involved in that, right? Like how does the car know where the
The
lane is?
Well, the technology is good, and it's the way they build the lanes nowadays. They
Okay.
put in sensors, and detectors are being built into the lanes every
Yeah.
day now. It's the same with traffic lights. Some have the camera sensors on the lights, so your vehicle has to be at a certain point. I don't know if you've ever sat at a light, and for some reason it doesn't change. You're looking at it, and everybody else gets a light, but you.
Mm.
It's
Oh
because
yeah.
you haven't gone far enough to trip the sensor to,
Right.
so it knows if there's a vehicle in that lane.
Yeah.
They use several different methods
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
detect vehicles in the lanes. But yeah, I mean, the way technology is going nowadays, it is cool.
Yeah.
I currently work at a car dealership.
Yeah.
So I've got the opportunity to see and drive all these new vehicles, all the electric vehicles, all
Right.
these new vehicles. I mean, it's to me, it's just more crap that can go wrong,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot more expensive to get fixed,
Yeah.
because computers, that's what allows these vehicles to read everything they read nowadays. If you put on your, like, I know with the Jeep, and the Jeep's a 2019, so there's a lot more technology since then.
Mm.
But if I've got my maps on, it will tell me, it tells me the speed limit
Mm.
on the street that I'm currently on.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they're fairly up to date, but
Yeah.
it'll tell you what speed that you need to go.
Right.
I mean, I'm from the days where, your backup sensor was you cranking your neck and holding on to the back of the seat,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you knew you got too close when you hit something.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
never had sensors, but we also had vehicles that we could work on.
Yeah.
If something went wrong, I could take it apart in the driveway. My father used to take his car apart every Saturday in the driveway,
Oh, wow.
tinker with it, put it all back together. Sometimes it ran better, sometimes it didn't.
Mm.
But,
It's a crazy
you know,
skill to know how to
nowadays you
do.
can't.
Yeah.
Nowadays, oh, and my dad, I mean, my dad was no master mechanic, but it was all basics.
Okay.
This, you needed this to make this, and this work.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's how, if you took something apart,
Yeah.
you just made sure that you put it all in a way that you knew how to put it back together.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you open the hood of a car, and I know some cars. Just the other day, I opened the hood, and there was another hood. There was a plastic hood under the hood.
Oh.
So you had to open the hood, then you had to undo these snaps to get the plastic piece off.
Oh. Weird.
So yeah, it's insane
It's
nowadays.
interesting. I wonder why they
Try
would
and
have put
find a
that.
battery in a car.
Oh God. Yeah. No
It,
idea.
it used to be it used to be very standard where batteries were in a
Mm.
vehicle, in all
Mm.
vehicles.
Mm.
Unless you had a Corvette. Corvettes were always under or just behind the driver's seat, under the floor.
Oh. Okay.
Um, Nowadays, because of the new vets, because vets aren't Corvettes anymore,
Mm.
and they're now supercars, the batteries are everywhere.
Oh, okay.
But even new cars, just your average, everyday, ordinary, average car,
Yeah.
the battery's not likely under the hood. There's an area where you can hook up a battery charger or jump start it,
Yeah.
but the actual battery itself is usually in the trunk now, or hidden somewhere in the fenders, front fenders.
Mm.
So, your car, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
the Avenger,
Yeah.
your actual battery is behind the passenger fender. So you have to take the
Okay.
passenger fender off in order to put a new battery in your car.
Jeez, eh?
No, it's
Yeah, see, I
insane.
would have never
Just
known
insane.
where that is. I don't even think of that stuff. Like, I just, you know.
Well, and car companies have done that so that there are no more backyard mechanics. You have to take it in.
Oh,
Now you have to pay the money and you have to pay the company
okay.
to do the work.
Yeah.
Where back in the day, you take it to your buddy and
Yeah.
20 bucks later or a case of beer and you had the work done.
Right.
You just had to buy the parts.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Technology is a
Nice.
good thing, but it's also a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
What are your thoughts on modern cars versus old cars? I think I would, if I had to guess, you would go with more of the older, the classics.
oh, I would go
Um,
old school.
yeah.
I mean, two door, four door, that never really bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
I love body style. I love body lines. Um, I love a car that rumbles when you start it, not
Yeah.
plays a song.
Okay.
Because like I say, working where I work, I've driven a lot of electric vehicles,
Yeah.
and they all play a tune when you're driving through the
Oh.
parking lot or when you fire it up, so that the pedestrians can hear it because you can't hear the motor.
Oh, yeah.
And now you've got Tesla that comes out, and
Yeah.
they're known in the car industry as the gadget car
Okay.
because whereas every car plays this, it almost sounds like wind chimes when you're driving through the parking lot.
Oh.
With Tesla, you can program any song you want. So you can
Oh.
put Metallica, you can put whatever
Oh,
to play
really?
when you're driving through a parking lot. Yeah. You can also program the horn, and you
Oh.
can program the horn to make any sound you want, whether it's a gunshot, machine
Oh,
gun,
my goodness.
get your voice saying, get the hell out of the way.
Oh, gee.
Uh, so, it's all these different little gadgets.
Uh,
Um, Again, the more gadgets, the more shit can go wrong.
it's kind of cool in theory, but
It's
yeah.
different,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
they've also got the sound of a car engine. Well, I'm sorry, but I'd rather have a
The
V8.
real engine, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I've driven the electric vehicles, even the smallest um, family type or family orientated vehicle that I've driven, electric vehicle. You punch it off the line, and those things are sick. They're scary
Mm,
because you've got instant power to your wheels.
right.
Whereas an engine, you've got the buildup through the transmission, through the differential, through the drive shaft.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everything takes a little bit off and
Yeah,
everything scrubs a little bit.
yeah.
This thing is instant power instantly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's scary,
Yeah.
but I still love the roar of an engine. I love the smell of gasoline.
Mm.
And I mean, I'll never get out of that. I'll never own an electric car.
Right. 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 Right.
And even Corvette. Corvette now has the E-Ray,
Oh,
and
never
that's
even
the
heard of
one
that.
that, yeah, it's new for 24, 25.
Okay.
Um, I've seen quite a few of those now. The original one that came into the city came in from Calgary, but there have been several brought in and bought here in Winnipeg.
Mm.
Basically, what it is it's an electric motor for the front tires, and then the regular gas motor for the rear tires. So you can be looking at
Oh.
upwards of close to 1,200 horsepower out of that car.
Yeah.
So it's very fast, and
Right.
it's kind of a neat concept. But
Hmm.
again, you give me an old 426 Hemi, you give me a 70 Cuda, you give me any one of those cars, and I'd take it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A car that does 300 miles an hour they're cool, but where are you going to drive it?
Right. I
You're
think the
never
only
going to drive
thing,
it.
the
You're
only
never going to
place I
drive it
think of.
in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
at not at top speed. And
Yeah.
I see these Corvettes coming in all the time. And some of these are very, very high buck cars. And they're very, very young, very low mileage, and they got a lot of engine damage because they're not able to drive them the way that they're built to drive.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, they're built to drive fast, they're built to drive
Yeah.
hard.
Hmm.
You know, I've always maintained that it's the same with buying a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or some of the bigger Porsches.
Yeah.
In a country where we are so restricted with our fuels and with our speed limits, why?
Yeah.
You know, you
It's more
take
just
that
for the
out,
looks. Yeah.
take it to Europe and take it out in the Autobahn.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
know,
what
and
I was just gonna say.
if
Yeah.
you want looks, buy a 1968 Corvette Stingray.
Right.
That's looks.
Yeah.
That's class
Yeah. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I'm old school all the way.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely old school too. Is like, and
Yeah.
even for like, it's different for me because of all these new modern cars, like they're coming out. Like now, like when it's the same type of feeling that you probably had when, the classics were coming out, when you were my age. So I like the new, like the modern, like I see it like
Hmm.
I mean, especially living in Toronto now, like, I mean, you see a lot of Lamborghinis here
Yeah.
and everything. And it's, I remember when I first moved here, it's like, it was this like, wow, it's like this thing where you got to like stop and stare, and you become sort of conditioned to it. And now I see when I'm like, oh, cool. Like, and then off with my day. But I think for the old ones, there's just that special sort of, I don't know, feeling or aspect to them where it's like, you don't see that anymore, like with
Well, that's
Lamborghinis. Yeah.
just it. Um, I've always maintained that the 60s and 70s cars they're very special to me because I was always, right from about 14 years old, I was big into the cruising scene. And here in Winnipeg, back in those days, we had the biggest cruising community, bar none, in North America. They
Mm,
talked about us everywhere.
yeah.
Our Sunday night cruise night was bigger than in LA, bigger than
Wow.
in Florida, bigger than anywhere. And in North America, they used to talk about, oh, you got to check out a cruise night in Winnipeg. The
Uh,
city came to a standstill on Sunday nights.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
would take a route and anybody watching this that's familiar with Winnipeg, from Polo Park on Portage Avenue down to Main Street.
Yeah.
On any given day, it's even with rush hour traffic, you're looking about 45 minutes. A Sunday night cruise night used to be 3 hours it would take you to run that same
Oh
route
my
going straight down Portage. It was
goodness.
bumper to bumper cars.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And there was a lot of hot rods, a lot of high buck hot rods, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of scrap cars,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of, I mean, a lot of guys jumping in Chevettes because, hey, it was their only car. And to them, that was their hot rod,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
You just didn't sit with the big boys when you got to the cruising spots. But yeah, I mean, cruising was a huge community. And So, but you would look at a car coming down the road, and from a quarter mile away, a third of a mile away, you could tell what kind of vehicle was coming, whether it was a Corvette,
Hmm.
Camaro, Mustang. You didn't know what year or what exact model, but you knew that it wasn't a Corvette
Right.
because that's a Ford front end. Nowadays, you see a Corvette come down the street. You don't know if it's a Corvette, if it's a Lamborghini, if it's a Ferrari, because it's a supercar now, and all the
Yeah.
supercars have that same look.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
all have that same style.
Yeah.
And to me, and again, don't get me wrong. I'll look at a Ferrari. I'll look at a Lamborghini. I'll look at a Corvette that's on the street, a brand new vehicle like that, because they are beautiful in their
Mm.
own right. They do have their own beauty,
Hmm.
but they're all, to me, it's like the old phrase cookie cutter. It's a cookie cutter house. It's just, okay, that's the same body style as that one and that
Yeah.
one and that one and that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas you can actually sit down and go, okay, this is a 1970 Mustang
Right.
Mach 1. This is
Yeah.
a 1970 Hemi Cuda.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is a 1970 Corvette Stingray. And you knew just by looking at the grill and the
Yeah.
front end of that vehicle exactly what it was.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
That was exciting.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with you even on that and that way of things because I'll see like going back to what I was saying like with the Lamborghini like I mean I can't tell you what year it's from, like they all look
No.
the same,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there is just that sort of I think maybe the last time well no it's not a Lamborghini but a Camaro like the 2013 Camaro like that was I think probably the last time that like well forgive me like do they even make Camaros anymore?
No. No. Camaros are no longer a thing.
That was the last year, right?
I can't. I'm not sure the exact last year because I know they stopped making them. Then they brought them back for a little bit
Oh,
because
did they?
they've never lost their popularity.
Right.
But then they discontinued them again. As sad as that is, I always thought that Chevrolet was very classy about that
Yeah.
because, and again, don't get me wrong, because I'm not slamming anybody that owns the vehicles that loves the vehicles. We all have our own loves and our own hates when it comes to stuff like that.
Mm.
But you take an example with Ford when they introduced the Mach E. That was, to me, that was a sad day because they called it a Mustang and they
Hmm.
put the Mustang emblem on it.
Yeah.
That's
But
not a
that's not a
Mustang.
Mustang. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not. I don't care what anybody says. And
Yeah.
to all the Mach E owners out there, all the power to you. You got a crazy wild electric car, but it's not a real Mustang. You
Yeah.
take that to a car show and you try and park that with the Mustang group, and they're probably going to ask you to go to the area where the newer cars are
Uh-huh.
because that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not a Mustang.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Camaro, at least with the Camaro, Chevrolet didn't do that. They didn't take it to the point of absurdia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Speaking on new cars, so actually last night I went to this like a friend's birthday sort of event, and on the way there, I saw a Cybertruck. Now,
Oh,
I think they are probably one of the most ridiculous cars to ever be made. It looks like a prototype, and I know you've kind of have
well, it looks like
shared
a
your
cheese
thoughts.
grater.
Yeah,
It
it's
looks like one of those things that you make julienne fries from. It's a banjo. It's
yeah.
yeah. I work where I work right across the street from us is a Tesla dealer,
Oh, they
and
have them there.
they've got about five or six of them they've
Yeah.
brought in.
Hey. Yeah.
And there's two guys that I know in our city that have wrapped them.
Mm.
And I mean, you could wrap them in 24 karat gold. They're still
They're
ugly.
still. Yeah. No.
They're
They're
still,
not
I don't
it.
know. It looks like a door wedge. It looks like something you jam under a door to keep it open. I've
Yeah.
never been a fan of those. But
No.
again, electric vehicles,
Yeah.
you know, they've got a lot of gadgetry that they have a system called One Foot.
Okay.
And I had never heard of it before until I started working at the dealership. And then the very first time that I took an electric vehicle with One Foot on, the very first time I took it out of the shop,
Yeah.
Everybody else gathered around because they knew it was about to happen, even though I didn't. And what 1 foot drive is you put the vehicle in gear
Mm,
and your brakes are automatically on. As soon as you
okay.
step, as soon as you put pressure on the accelerator, the brakes go off instantly or automatically. But the second you let off the accelerator, the brakes are applied.
Oh, so you don't have to worry about braking. You just as long as you have your foot on the gas or the pedal,
Yeah,
whatever you want to
as
call
long as you've
that.
taken your foot off the gas pedal, the
Yeah.
vehicle automatically starts to brake. Now, I've never tried it at any high speeds, so I don't know if I'm pretty sure I don't think I'm going to be trusting that vehicle to stop on its own completely.
No way. Yeah.
And the first person that does could be in for a surprise because, again, it's all computer.
Yeah.
And what are computers very, very well known for?
Yeah.
Glitching.
Glitching, malfunctioning. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not the time you want, that's not the
No.
item you want to glitch.
No. No.
But what happens when you're going at slow speeds is the stop is instantaneous.
Mm.
I was doing maybe, I got it up to about 6, 7 kilometers, and I took my foot off the accelerator and I almost went through the windshield because the vehicle
Oh
stopped
my
dead,
goodness. Yeah.
and I didn't. It
Yeah.
scared the hell out of me. I couldn't
Really?
figure it out. And so, yeah, you got to learn to feather it, which
Yeah.
isn't, I mean, it's not hard. Any of us that have, drive standards or have ridden motorcycles, it's feathering and it's something you become used to and accustomed to, but you got to get used to it.
Yeah.
And you're in for some exciting little tricks. But yeah, and
No.
when you get the Cybertruck, things like that, as far as I'm concerned, that's just a gadget truck. It's just a
Yeah.
toy,
Mm. Yeah.
and it's
Well,
it's
to
it's
me,
not a
it's
very
like,
fun looking toy either.
yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. To me, it's like it's just for the name, right? Like it's not,
It's
and
I think
even
it's just the
then,
bragging
it's
rights
yeah, like that's what I mean. Yeah, like it's
because the vehicle bare bones stock is well over 100,000.
yeah, yeah,
So I think it's just a bragging right to say,
yeah.
well, I got a Tesla, I
You,
got
the
a
Cybertruck, yeah,
Cybertruck.
yeah, 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 yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Like
I
I don't
guess,
even.
for the same thrill when the first Humvee came out, like the actual original Humvee
Mm,
became open to the general public from the
mm,
military.
mm,
You look at them and they're not the prettiest vehicle in the world, but they're an unstoppable vehicle.
yeah,
So at least it's got a use.
yeah,
The Cybertruck, I just don't know, to be honest, I don't know
yeah,
what you get out of it.
yeah, yeah. They
It's
should
got a
have
pickup
done
bed,
more to it though.
but
They should have done like it because, like I
well,
said, it
they
looks
should have made it a better
unfinished.
shape. It
Yeah,
just looks like somebody folded a bunch of, it looks like origami,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know
if
if
they
that
put a
was
set of
their
wings on
goal
it,
or
might
if
have
that
been
was their,
better.
yeah, like maybe that was their
I
vision, but and it just
Well,
hasn't resonated with.
aerodynamics, I guarantee aerodynamically, that's probably one of the most
Okay,
sound vehicles, and you're probably going to get most mileage, most bang for your buck out
right.
of the electric motor because it's so,
Mm,
aerodynamic.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's it reminds me of these because don't they do self-driving as well? These Teslas, or there's
They do
other.
some.
Yeah.
Chevrolet has a couple too. Um, I believe is it Chevrolet? No, no, sorry, Genesis.
Okay. Yep.
Genesis, and I've seen it at work.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I work with was showing me how it works. He was driving it in and out of his work bay
Mm-hmm.
by standing behind it,
Yeah.
and he was doing it on his cell phone.
Yeah.
He was driving the vehicle with his cell phone.
Right.
So it is kind of neat. It's kind of cool. But again, it's another glitch just
Yeah.
waiting to happen. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I know that in Vegas they have they I don't know if they still have them, but they did have a few autonomous vehicles, taxi cabs. So in other
Okay.
words, absolutely
Oh,
no human
right.
beings.
Yeah, I've
And
seen
they've
that.
had a few issues. They've had a few incidences where they've hit and run people over
Yeah. Yeah.
and run into actual other vehicles.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw
So,
that a video not too long ago. Yeah, this car pulls up, person gets in the back seat, and they're the only they're
yep,
the only one in there. I
only
don't know
one
how I
in there.
feel about that. Like I think it would be cool, but like it's like you're saying you're taking a gamble, really,
Well,
because
you are.
um
If the computer hiccups,
yeah,
who knows what could happen?
yeah,
You know,
exactly, right, like
um, electric vehicle. I remember at the shop we had. a vehicle where the battery died. And I mean, you look at, yeah, if you ever, or if you've ever seen an electric vehicle's battery, they're huge and they're underneath you.
Right.
And the battery died, and the vehicle, the one of the technicians was inside the vehicle,
Oh.
and he couldn't get out until we got enough power back into the batteries because it automatically locked the doors,
Oh.
and
Shoot.
there's no key.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
key like Tesla, one of the vehicles. It's a credit card. You swipe
Oh.
the credit card over the door, a certain spot on the door, and it unlocks and pops the
Really?
door enough so that you can open it.
Uh.
And then you have to put it into this little square on
Uh-huh.
the dash
Uh-huh.
for the vehicle to start
Yeah.
and be able to drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's different.
Don't some of them it looks like a little Hot Wheels toy, like the fob to start it?
Well,
I thought I
no,
seen that.
the fob is just usually to gain entry.
Oh.
The second you get in the vehicle, as long as you've got the fob on you, it automatically starts.
Oh, you don't
You
even
don't
have
push a
to.
button. Nope, you don't.
Oh,
Some do
interesting.
have the push button starts, but a lot of them will automatically start. And
Right.
then when you get out, the vehicle will eventually shut off on its own, but you can also manually shut the power in the vehicle off.
Right. 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 Wow. That's cool. That's wow. Jeez, I didn't know that.
Well, it's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. 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 Cool.
But who knows? I mean, one day, yeah, you may be able to climb into your own vehicle,
Hmm.
tell it your destination, and
Yeah.
you kick back and watch a movie on the ceiling while it drives you there.
Yeah.
You know,
Crazy
who
to think
knows?
like where this could all be in
Oh,
five,
anything
ten
could happen.
years, and yeah,
Anything could happen. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like driving just could become obsolete.
Oh, big time. It could
Yeah.
be right out of the scenes of, Back to the Future, some of those flying, flying cars
Hmm.
and vehicles that are autonomous completely,
Yeah.
and we don't ever have to worry. I mean, Google Maps is probably a big part of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I mean they go around and they film every single street all around the world.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they've got a big hand in the autonomous vehicle
Yeah.
or the release of the autonomous vehicle.
Right. 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 Yeah. It probably works hand in hand. Yeah.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Have you seen well, have you seen the show Impractical Jokers?
Oh, yeah. I love those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
There's
we used to watch the series.
yeah. Yeah, they've pulled on some pretty funny stuff.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's cool how they don't just prank other people. They use like each other. They like prank each other
Oh, they
as
screw each other
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
they put each other in some
Yeah.
very embarrassing
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's you do or die because if you don't do it, they're going to give you doing something even worse,
Yeah, right?
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I think I know where you're going with this one. I'm pretty sure.
Mm.
Are you talking about the one where they built themselves into the seat?
Uh no, I can't think of one in specific, but tell me more about that one.
Well, they had one where they had I think it was a big old Cadillac, and they had the seat custom built so that they were built right into the seat.
Oh.
So they're driving the vehicle and they can see everything that's going on. But when you look in, all you see is an empty seat, and it doesn't look out of the ordinary.
Okay.
And they would pull up alongside police cars.
Uh-huh.
And the cop, just to watch the reaction, and the cop look over and then do a double take, and then the vehicle takes off, and there's nobody driving it,
Yeah.
and then they'd get pulled over, and then that's when the cop would discover because as he'd come up, the guy'd pop out of the seat.
Right.
But yeah, I know that was Impractical Jokers did that one. That was
Yeah.
pretty funny.
That was a good
That was
one, yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
ingenious way to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, cool. What's some best pranks you've seen just in general? Maybe from them or if you've seen like on YouTube or TikTok, like is there ones that have
Oh
stuck
well,
out
that
like
the one about the hidden seat, that's incredible.
yeah,
For me, I just love the scare ones.
the
On like when people either get the air horn or just coming through a doorway,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
um, because I love doing that to your mother.
Yeah.
And she tries to do it to me sometimes. She's
uh,
gotten me a few times, but more so than not, I've gotten
uh,
her really good.
yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, but yeah, those are fun. I love practical jokes and pranks.
Yeah.
Um, we did one time. It was terrible. It was a very, very mean thing to do,
Oh.
but it was a boring night shift,
Okay.
and I was young in my career.
Yeah.
We were working out of the provincial remand center, which was in the public safety building,
Okay.
which was downtown Winnipeg,
Yeah.
and it was a very, very quiet night. And we came across an old uniform, one of our uniforms.
Mm.
And my partner and I decided we were going to play a practical joke on the nurse. She was a new nurse.
Okay.
So what we did was we stuffed the uniform with inmate clothing, like, uniforms
Uh.
that we give the inmates,
Uh.
and we made it look like a person.
Oh.
And then we put shoes on it. And then we oh, this is terrible. We positioned it in a back cell so it looked like the individual was hanging.
Oh no.
And then one of the staff went into the nurse and asked if they had seen me anywhere. And that they were concerned about me because I was feeling down. I wasn't very happy. That they were concerned because I'd made some comments that didn't sound very well.
Uh.
And the way we had set it up, we had the nurse go and give out meds to one of the actual inmates.
Yeah.
And then she came around the corner and she saw this figure in a corrections uniform doing this.
Yeah.
And she just lost her mind.
Oh
And when she
no.
came flying out of the unit, I'm standing there and she ran right past me screaming because she didn't,
She didn't
I guess
clue
it
in
didn't,
yet. Yeah.
yeah,
Like
it
he.
didn't, her brain wasn't working as fast there
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
point
Yeah. Yeah.
until she finally came to a dead stop and realized that I was standing there. Yeah, she wasn't too happy about that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the long run, looking back over that, that was probably a pretty nasty thing to
Mm.
do.
Mm.
But that's how we were back then.
Yeah.
We were everything, and when you work in an environment, dark environment,
Yeah.
the humor is very dark.
Yeah. 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 For
Whether
sure.
you like it or not, whether you mean it or not,
Yeah.
the humor is pretty dark.
Mm.
But
Yeah, I think that's almost like like I get what you're saying, like about that, but I think that's almost like just in general, there was a lot more things that were deemed more acceptable than today. Like, I mean, yeah, sure,
oh
that prank was probably maybe a bit too far, but all
no,
fun and
no.
games. But I mean, nowadays, my goodness, with
Oh no,
this,
now no, what we used to do back then, nowadays you would never get away with. Never.
yeah, oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah,
I mean, we used to do a lot of like three-quarters of the correction officers back in the day had nicknames, and the nicknames stuck with you for your career.
hmm
And a lot of them weren't flattering. It wasn't because you were good. It
yeah,
wasn't because, I worked with a guy, they nicknamed him, he had a couple nicknames. One was Rocket,
okay,
because he moved like Jinx the cat. He was very slow. He would take him 20 minutes to walk across the room.
okay,
Um, and then his nickname changed a couple of years later to Chalkline,
okay,
because a chalk line is what you put around a dead body. So
oh,
that meant he didn't move at all. He'd sit his ass down. He wouldn't move all night. So
oh
we
my
call him chalk line.
god,
Oh yeah.
oh, that's crazy.
Another guy, wasn't the most handsome individual in the world, so they called him gruesome.
Oh god.
Another guy was, he was Portuguese, um, and we used to call him Julio.
Okay.
His name was Joe, but we used to call him Julio.
Okay.
Um, oh yeah,
Oh, that's
um,
terrible.
it was
Yeah.
terrible. Oh, it
Yeah, yeah,
was,
yeah.
but nobody minded back then. I
Yeah.
mean, it was a different world.
Yeah.
Uh, and I guess it was just a more comfortable world.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
It would be really nice to see if this day and age it could get a little more comfortable if people would stop worrying about others, and
Yeah. 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 Like my
people
stance on
worry
it,
too
for
much
sure. Yeah.
about how others portray themselves or see
Yeah.
themselves. Well, that's how they see themselves. That's
Yeah.
not our point to judge. We
Yeah.
we can't say,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
shouldn't say. We should just accept what they want to say and how they want to feel, and everybody should
Hmm.
just be a little bit happier and a little
Yeah.
bit more enjoyable and looser.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think a lot of things like what people miss nowadays is that's a two-way street. Like they're always talking
Hmm.
about how like, accept me for how I want to be, and that's very fair. Absolutely. 100%. Like for me specifically, like I have a lot of friends that are, gay or whatever, and not my thing, but I respect like if that's how you want to be or if that's how you see yourself, that's how you feel. Absolutely. 100%.
Well, I mean, that's just it. Your sexuality is your
Yeah.
sexuality.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I've always maintained that myself. I mean, I know I'm an older gentleman. I'm from a different generation,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people in my generation were very stubborn.
Yeah.
I've never been that way. I've
Yeah.
I've always been very open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are, what you are, where you are, how you feel, who you love.
Yeah.
That's none of my business.
Yeah.
My concern, my only thing is don't push it on me.
Yep. Exactly.
Don't I
Exactly.
you can be anybody you want, and I will respect that
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah.
But don't expect me to have to follow that belief. I
Yeah.
will not do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll see you for the person that I see you for, whether you're straight, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're heterosexual, homosexual,
Mm-hmm.
trisexual, bisexual. I
Yeah.
don't care. I look at you for the person that you are,
Yeah.
and I hope you look at me for the person that I am.
Yeah.
Because I don't try to offend. I always used to tell people if I say something that offends you or that upsets you, because I worked in a very dark environment
Mm-hmm.
where you didn't hear a lot of please and thank you or could you do this for me? Could you do that for me? It was a very, very rough environment.
Yeah.
So I'm very rough, and I swear a lot. I'm very vulgar. I don't try to be, but it's been my life since I was 16 years
I'm
old.
the exact same way. Yeah.
I'm a very old dog, and I'm very hard to learn new tricks.
Yeah.
So, for me, I tell people if I come across strong, if I've offended you, tell me.
Yeah.
I'll probably still do it, but I don't mean it. And
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
mean to hurt you or
Yeah.
hurt your feelings or step on
Mm-hmm.
any toes.
Mm-hmm.
But please,
Yeah.
by all means, if I've done something to upset you or offend you, come to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an asshole. I'm
Yeah.
not closed minded. I'll tell you, yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. I shouldn't have said that,
Yeah.
in that context, or I
Yeah.
should have thought of your feelings before I
Yeah.
said that. And I do
Yeah.
apologize.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is who I am. I
Yeah.
don't expect you to take me for what I am or who I am.
Right.
But I've also been of the firm belief that if you don't like who I am or what I have to say, change the channel.
Yeah.
You
That's cool.
know,
Change the channel. That's an
change the
interesting.
channel
Yeah.
because this is who I am.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, that's what I was throughout my entire career
Mm.
in corrections.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I used to try and tell the new
Yeah.
people coming in.
Yeah.
Don't be, watch everybody, look at
Yeah.
everybody, observe everybody, and create yourself. Take a
Yeah.
little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. Don't copy anybody.
Yeah.
Just be yourself. And I was always myself. And some days that was a really good thing, and
Yeah.
it saved damage, it saved issues.
Yeah.
Other days it was frowned upon by my colleagues.
Yeah.
I had a rougher time with my colleagues in my career than I did with the inmates.
Oh, really? Wow.
Um,
Eh?
well, because, and again, don't get me wrong, not all correctional officers are cut from the same cloth.
Mm.
Nobody is.
Mm-hmm.
No firefighter, no paramedic, no police officer.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are clones out there, little mini me's,
Mm.
but there are a lot of free thinkers, and
Mm-hmm.
and I like to think of myself as a free thinker.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care what you did. I'll help. I'll do whatever I can for you. If it's talking with you so that it takes away some of your nightmares or helps you calm some of your nightmares.
Yeah.
If it's just something you want to just bullshit, if you want to get something off your chest. I always used to tell the inmates, if you've got a problem, if you've got an issue, come to me, talk to me.
Yeah.
If you want to yell and scream, yell and scream. I know that you're not going to do anything physically,
Mm.
but I'm willing to listen, and I'm willing to be open minded.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And if it works, it works.
Yeah. That's a great quality you have though, because there are people just like you that you know like you were describing, how you're old school, this and that, and may say things that offend people, but there are other people who don't give a fuck, right? Who will say
Oh
controversial
yeah,
shit and
yeah.
they don't care,
Well,
right?
they do it intentionally to hurt
That's what
to
I'm
hurt
saying. Yeah, yeah,
others.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't stand people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always tried to distance myself from people like that.
Yeah,
You know, I like I'm like anybody else. I love to be with like-minded people.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
In my career, there wasn't a ton, but there was quite a few that I'm very proud to say that I worked with
yeah,
and that I served with side by side.
yeah, yeah.
They were my true brothers and
Right, a
sisters.
brotherhood. Yeah,
Oh yeah, you form a brotherhood.
yeah.
When I first started, my first 10 years from 1982 to 1992, before we moved into the new facility,
Right.
those were the days we used to call them the days of the hang 'em and bang 'em. And as an inmate, you would come in, we would book you in, we would put you into a location, and then we didn't see you again until it was either breakfast, court, release, or we were taking you to the hospital.
Mm.
Other than that, we didn't have very many interactions with you. What one officer would go throughout the day with this old rickety cart and and a rotisserie telephone,
Mm.
or rotary dial, I
Rotary.
should say, telephone, and you could make personal phone calls. You had 15 minutes. If you were done, awesome. If you weren't, too bad. Phone was cut off,
Mm.
and the next person put on.
Mm.
Then we'd also have an officer that would go through with one old style razor
Mm.
and a cup with a brush and razor foam,
Yeah.
and the entire unit would shave with that one razor.
Oh,
No
that's
changing the blade, one razor. Could be 12 inmates would shave with that one razor.
not even like rinsing it off or anything.
Well, they would rinse it off,
Oh
but
yeah, but even then,
yeah,
yeah,
it was one of those the
yeah,
old
yeah, yeah.
style curved razors,
Okay,
and it
yeah,
had the blade on both ends and it screwed in because it was
yeah,
a security razor.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
And
jeez.
yeah, so it's some of the old school stuff was pretty mellow.
Yeah.
But yeah, like things changed when we moved into the new building.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they created a more friendly atmosphere. They wanted to create. They wanted to try and get rid of that division of
Okay.
guard and inmate,
Yeah.
which didn't work very well.
Oh,
Um,
why not?
because they put you into a situation where they want you to stay in the unit, watch TV with them, play card games with them,
Oh, okay.
eat lunch and supper with them.
Okay.
And when you do that, if you're strong enough, you don't fall into the trap. But a lot of the inmates fall into the trap where it's creating a false friend. They think you're
Yeah.
actually a friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, even though I have had friends that have come through, because, I mean, not all my buddies were up and up outright citizens, you have to they have to understand, and you have to understand that there has to be that division.
Yeah.
You have to have the line. I'm not your friend. I'm a confidant that you can talk to. I'm
Yeah.
somebody that you can come to in need when you're in need of something,
Yeah.
but I'm not your buddy, and we're not going to hang out on the street. We're not going to hang out, you know. And it created a lot of issues and troubles. I know for
Mm-hmm.
me, it created issues
Mm-hmm.
because I worked with a certain group that I really can't mention.
Yeah.
And even though when I say worked with them, I ran the floor that they were on, and it created a lot of garbage for me
Yeah.
because these guys became very relaxed and comfortable around me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They liked my style.
Okay, well, for the people watching, listening, I probably did just cut it super quick. We just had some technical difficulties. The AirPods that he was using, and maybe they
Died out on me.
ran out of battery or something. Yeah,
That's
but
right.
my goodness, the audio is like, I wish you had not put them in at all. Wow, jeez, that's crazy. What were we talking about? We were talking just kind of about
Well,
um,
I just mentioned that the way corrections is run nowadays, or was run, I think they've kind of modified it again. When they tried to make us be their buddies,
yeah.
and
Oh yeah, and it was
and
like a sort of like
you
a
know,
fixed
because I guess they felt it was
friendship. Yeah.
their impression that if they felt that we were friends and that they were comfortable with us, that they would give us information of anything illegal on the unit or anything illegal about to happen.
Okay. So it's sort of like
So
building like a trust,
like a
but
rapport
an
and a bond.
artificial trust almost.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Not the
it
greatest. Yeah.
again, it didn't work. It didn't
Right,
work
right, right.
because it just made suspects
Yeah.
and of the correctional officers. People
Yeah.
look at us, like they do when you watch a movie.
Yeah.
There's quite the stereotype connected with correctional officers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Where we talk about the pranks, the people watching.
oh, I love people watching.
I love it too. My
You can put
goodness,
me
what
in the
a
middle of, I like anywhere, airport.
yeah.
You take me to the mall,
Yeah.
and I walk into things because I'm watching people.
Yeah.
I pay more attention to the people around me because this world is just full of some wild people,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and they've got no limits, no boundaries.
hmm Well, even though I lived in Winnipeg my whole life up until I was like 20, I never spent a ton of time downtown, and I think that's where you can see more of the more interesting folk. We'll say the
Oh
more
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can
you
see
know,
some real
yeah,
kooks.
yeah, and I've kind of gotten my taste of that now living here in downtown Toronto.
Yeah, yep,
I
yeah.
yeah, there's some real crazy guys out there. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I
there
don't
is.
know if it's the same for you. It's where like I'll be walking sometimes and my goodness, I don't even know what they're talking about. They're just blabbing their mouth off about some random stuff. Like
Oh
it
yeah,
doesn't even make sense half the time.
oh
You
yeah,
know, they're
oh
telling
yeah.
maybe
I
some
mean,
story or something like that. Like
I love sitting at a light, and you'll watch somebody walking down the sidewalk, and they're carrying on a full conversation,
yeah.
or they're battling something
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
I guess in their mind is there, but
Right.
in
Right.
our reality it's not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even though it's sad sometimes, because
Mhm.
I mean, let's face it, mental health is no joke.
No, absolutely not. No.
um it can be very enlightening,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
um but like I say, having said that, mental health is no joke.
Yeah.
I've dealt with my own fair share, thanks
Yeah.
to my career.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, same for me. I mean, I don't like to compare myself to people like the best I can. Uh, yeah, but there's been struggles for sure, and that's one thing I was gonna bring up a little earlier ago is about this month. With the Pride stuff, like 1,000 billion million whatever percent understand that there is a whole history with gay rights. Oh,
mhm.
I just dropped the cup. Gay rights and whatever, right? Like I understand the cause, but the fact that it's also Men's Mental Health Month, and that just I feel like it just gets swept right under the rug. And like I don't know
It
who
definitely
decide
gets put into the shadows. There's no two ways
I don't know
about it.
who decided to have it on in June, whether like that came first or the Pride stuff came first.
Well, I'm not too
But
sure.
like I said, I'm stressing this point because for people watching this, I don't want to make it sound like I don't agree with the
Oh no,
LGBTQ or whatever.
everybody deserves
But
their time.
yeah, but I
Um,
personally like I find it, I guess for a lack of a better term, it can be frustrating. Seeing
Hmm.
everywhere you turn, gay this, gay that, and it's important. But like men are the number one, uh, like they commit suicide the most.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like,
Yeah.
um, it
Yeah.
needs to be
There, I
talked about
mean,
more. Mental health in
it's
general.
becoming more out there. I mean, it's coming to the forefront.
Hmm.
It's very slow.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
there's always been a conception. There's always been the ideal picture of a man, of what a man is,
yeah,
of what a man's supposed to be.
yeah.
And, you know, I, I've never really fallen for any of the what a man should do, what a man shouldn't do. Real men don't cry.
That's bullshit. Yeah,
It's all bullshit.
yeah,
If you care, yeah, your feelings will come through,
yeah,
and your feelings will show. And if that makes you uncomfortable, then that goes back to change the channel.
yeah.
You know, you know, I've noticed in myself changes over the years, like huge changes when I was young, and first 10 years in corrections,
Hmm.
you had to have a certain persona, you had to act a certain way.
Yeah,
Um, you had to give off a certain vibe. You had to be mean and tough and not care.
yeah.
And I'm by no means a big tough guy. I never have been.
Mm.
I'm very passionate when I get into something, like with my work with corrections. I was very passionate
Yeah,
about it
yeah,
because I care about people.
yeah,
And my goal wasn't to change anybody, but my goal was to help anybody that needed help.
yeah,
If you came to me and you needed to just talk, that's what I was there for. If you needed toilet paper, that's what I was there for.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And even today, when I was looking for a job after corrections, dismissed me,
yeah,
I would tell, people in my interviews that I don't care what the job is. I'll take anything. There's nothing below me.
yeah, yeah,
There's no job that'll shame me. I
yeah.
just want to work. I
Hmm.
want I want to get back out there, and I want to be a part of,
Absolutely. Yeah,
a viable society.
yeah.
And I mean, like everybody else, with the way things are going up these days, with the way prices are going on absolutely everything.
Hmm. It's impossible not to work because if
Well,
you don't, you're
pension,
just done.
retirement's a thing of the past.
Yeah,
At least, I mean, I'm 61 right now,
yeah.
and there's no way that I could just walk away
Hmm.
and not work and
Yeah,
just not worry about it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
impossible.
yeah,
And you've got to think long term. People are like, back in the day, they would say, "Oh, take your CPP out as early as possible. That way you get to use it."
yeah,
Because on average, for men anyway, on average around that time, men were living to, 70, 75, maybe
yeah.
80.
Right.
And, nowadays, I mean, I'm 61, and whether I'm being shined on or not, I have people look at me and go, okay, well, I was thinking 45, 50. I mean, I don't see that, but because I mean, I feel
Yeah,
every day of 61 years, but I don't feel old.
yeah,
I'm 61 now, and I think of when I was, 18, 19, and
yeah.
I looked at a 61-year-old. They didn't look like me, I didn't
No,
think.
no.
I mean, they looked like really old
Old.
men.
Yeah, old seniors.
And
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
if that's lifestyle. I don't know if that's generations. I
Right.
don't know if that's, how we were
Yeah,
raised, or the food that we were eating.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Who knows? I mean,
yeah.
my mom is 90, 92 going on 93, and
Hmm.
she's still got her wits about her. She's still,
Yeah, yeah,
she can still be fun, funny, cranky, miserable.
yeah,
She
yeah,
can still be all those things.
yeah,
So
yeah,
who knows? I might still have 30 years
yeah,
easy
yeah.
under my belt.
100%.
So for retirement, that's not that simple,
No. Yeah.
and with an economy that just keeps going through the roof, you can't just take it easy and
Hmm.
relax anymore. Those days are done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm hoping that I'm hoping that I'll only have to work till I'm 67.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at another 6 years.
Yeah.
And then when my CPP kicks in, I'll still have to go to part-time, but it won't be full-time work.
Yeah.
It'll just be a couple of days a
Yeah.
week. And that
Yeah.
I can do, I'm standing on my head.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I could easily do that for the next 10, 15 years
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've told mom this fucking half a billion times probably at this point, and I'm sure you've heard it, and I hope I've said it to you too. But both you and mom won't be working for much longer because I'm gonna make sure you guys are taken care of. Um,
No,
with
we hear and we know it's coming.
yeah, yeah,
So,
um, yeah, cool. Just starting to wrap things up, almost sort of a little bit. One
mhm.
thing though, super quick. Do you have any advice for someone who maybe is going through a hard time?
Wow. I mean, the best piece of advice that I can give is to reach out. Don't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
You know, when I first was diagnosed
Mm-hmm.
with my situations,
Yeah.
which is post traumatic stress,
Yeah.
anxiety, and depression,
Yeah.
and all job related, um, it humbled me pretty quick because I found that every single day for the first 2 years, I had to explain to somebody who I didn't even know
Yeah.
why I had to go off on disability, why I couldn't work in a jail anymore,
Yeah.
what was going on in my head. And when you tell a doctor something like that, it's different. When you tell a medical personnel or when you tell a psychologist or a psychiatrist, it's
Mm-hmm.
different.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I had to tell my story to clerks that
Mm.
were just filling out my paperwork because they needed
Oh.
to know the information. It becomes very humbling.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And, it makes you realize really fast that, if you don't express yourself and talk, that you're going to hurt yourself. And unfortunately, we were taught young how to push things away
Mm-hmm.
and push them down and keep them locked up forever.
Yeah.
Nobody ever told you that one day you might have an incident or an issue or a situation that unlocks that door.
Yeah.
And God help you when that door's open.
Yeah.
Because for me, when that door was reopened, everything came back.
Mm-hmm.
Every again, working in the environment that I worked in, I had a lot of guys tell me their dreams, their nightmares, the lives they lived, and you start to live it. You start to dream it. You start to think it.
Yeah.
And then you suppress it and you hide it and you lock it away and you never worry about it again. But again, like I say, nobody ever tells you that there could be one day when somebody says something, does something, or you witness something that unlocks that door and then everything comes back and now you got to deal with it again.
Yeah.
And it's not as simple.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got the resources, use them fully. If you've got a friend that you consider to be, like family,
Yeah. Yeah.
or family that will actually listen to what you have to say. Anybody that'll listen to what you have to
Mm-hmm.
say,
Mm-hmm.
use them,
Yeah.
utilize them, and don't be afraid to express everything
Yeah.
because it's the only way you're going to start to heal or help.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I end off these episodes. It's kind of like almost like a tradition, kind of sort
Hmm.
of thing with these rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So these are all questions that they can be yes or no's. They can be, I don't know, whatever your answer is. I've said to people in the past that if you have the impulse to kind of more dive in deeper and talk a bit more about it, feel free to do so.
Hmm.
But no pressure. These are meant to be rapid fire. So if they're just kind of, one line answers, all good.
Sounds good.
What's your dream vacation destination?
Dream vacation destination now would have to be Chicago.
Okay, I have to ask about that. Why?
I was in Chicago once, not for long, not as long as I'd like to. The city is beautiful. It's got so much to
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah.
It's got everything from architecture
Yeah.
to just deep, deep history.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it's got the Dan Aykroyd House of Blues. Had the opportunity to go there and have a Southern style brunch, and it's memories that I'll never ever forget.
Wow. Hey.
That I think just that there's something for everyone there.
Yeah.
I went into a community, Little Italy type of community,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the food was to die for.
Wow.
Yeah, just I know a lot of people say Hawaii, Tahiti,
Yeah.
the tropical islands.
Yeah.
I'm not a sun guy.
Right.
When I travel, I'm a tourist. I
Yeah.
like to do the tourist things.
You're
I like
right.
to go around and see things.
Yeah. Yeah. Rather than just kind
I've
of
had
sitting
the
around. Yeah.
opportunity to go through Europe,
Yeah.
through Italy.
Yeah.
I would do that again in a heartbeat as well.
Yeah.
But that is, I mean, that's at this point in time in life, that's pretty hard to realize because that's very expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say Chicago for something that I could afford and something that's just to me steeped in history.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's very interesting because you don't
So
hear
yeah, you
that.
got Hugh Hefner's
Yeah.
mansion there, the
Yeah.
original Playboy mansion.
Wow. Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
all sorts of neat
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And where else are you going to go to a city where the beach is in the heart of downtown?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know
You,
that much
you,
about Chicago, come to think of it, but
you go downtown Chicago,
yeah.
and the beach is right in the middle of downtown Chicago.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It is so intense.
Wow.
You're sitting on the beach suntanning, and behind you
Yeah.
is rush hour
It's the
traffic.
traffic. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
That's wild. I've been
Yep.
in, well, because when I went to visit my friends in the States, that's where I flew to, Chicago. But
Hmm.
I didn't really do anything in the city. You know, they just essentially
Yeah.
picked me up and we drove
Yeah.
back to where they were. Um, yeah, I definitely want to go back because there's, I mean, even just from what you're telling me, it's like there's a lot there, a lot that the
Oh,
city has to
there's just so
offer.
much
Yeah.
to see and so much to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Cool.
definitely.
Awesome. What's the worst car that is was ever made?
Worst car ever
Yeah.
made? Worst car ever made, I would have to say DeLorean.
Okay. Is that a real
Um,
car? I didn't even know that was a.
yeah, the DeLorean, it's real. It was John DeLorean. It was his own company that put it out, that mass produced it. It was an all aluminum
Yeah.
vehicle,
Hmm.
but just ugly.
Yeah.
Right along the lines of Tesla and the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
It was a design that, as far as I was concerned, failed miserably.
Mm, hmm.
Miserably.
Yeah. 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 First album you ever owned, music album,
First
like
album that I ever
maybe like
owned.
the record player type thing,
Well,
vinyl.
the first rock album that I ever owned would have probably been Kiss.
Yeah.
So around 74. But the first album that I owned, I mean, I was a kid. I used to love all those zany songs, and they were called cartoons.
Okay.
And they were just all these goofy songs, one-eyed, one-eared flying purple people eater.
Oh, okay.
Songs like
I've
that.
heard
They were
of.
just they were really goofy. Ahab the Arab, definitely
Oh,
not um politically correct
yeah.
songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
These were songs back in the day, and they were kids' songs,
Oh
which
my
made it
God.
even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
Holy.
yeah, all of and for the older people out there that watch this, will know from the KTEL group.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
those were my first records. But as far as rock, it was probably Kiss. But I mean, I had all the best bands in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I had the young Rolling Stones, I had the young Bob Dylan, I had all of those groups,
Yeah.
Nazareth,
Yeah. Yeah.
Van Halen,
Wow.
every one of them.
I had them all.
My
Yeah.
first concert was Triumph.
I don't even know who
Uh,
that is.
yeah, exactly. But an
Yeah.
incredible band.
Yeah. 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 Wow. Very cool. Did I one food you refuse to eat? Did I say
Oysters.
that? Oysters? Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't blame you there.
I'm not a huge seafood guy.
No,
I'm very picky about
I
seafood.
didn't. Yeah, I don't really eat any.
But oysters, I won't even look
Yeah,
at.
that's
Won't,
like
I
the
wouldn't even try it.
weird, slimy sucky things in there.
Well,
Yeah.
they're just gross. They're
Yeah.
brown or kind of a brownish on the outside and
Yeah.
bright lime green on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh.
What's the one where like you gotta like suck the slime out of it? Is that oysters?
That's oysters. That's
Yeah.
that's fresh.
Ugh.
That's raw
Oh,
oysters.
I can't
Yeah.
even fathom doing that. That would just
Yeah.
make
My
me
buddy
gag.
used to eat canned oysters.
Oh
Oh,
my
yeah.
goodness. Yeah. Jeez. Okay, cars, manual or automatic?
A manual.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
I
Yeah. You got to
kind of
play.
guessed that one. Yeah.
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 You got to play while you
Yeah.
drive.
Yeah. I want to learn how to drive manual. I haven't ever
Well,
gotten the
my
opportunity.
father, when my father taught me, his view was if you can drive a manual, it's
Hmm.
always good to learn to drive on a manual because if you can
Because
drive a manual,
you can
you
drive
can drive
anything.
any vehicle in the
Yep.
world.
Hmm. Yeah, I
So it's
remember you
true. I mean, I've
guys.
driven everything from three on a tree to, the 6, 8, 10, 12 speed manuals in the old farm trucks,
Mm-hmm.
to bigger trucks, bigger vehicles. It's fun. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Great. If your life was a movie, what would it be called?
uh, the
That's a
life
hard
and
one.
times of a lion tamer, I guess, just totally insane.
Yeah.
I've done a myriad of things. I've seen and witnessed things that are just mind-boggling that
Yeah.
you would think you would never see in a billion years or never
Mm-hmm.
even think of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, working in the environment that I worked in was definitely a circus at the best of times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Morning person or night owl?
I'm a night owl.
Yeah. Me too.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I can stay up. I mean, again, that stems from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I was cruise night, Sunday night cruise night, it would start at 5 o'clock, in the afternoon. It would
Yeah.
start at supper time,
Yeah.
and we'd be coming home. We'd be rolling in about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then working as a correctional officer, you'd work till 11 o'clock at night, and you'd go party all night, and then you'd be
Mm.
back for 11 o'clock in the morning without sleep.
Oh my goodness, hey.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
just different lifestyles
Yeah.
and a lot younger.
Yeah. I almost think I have more. It feels like I have more energy even at night sometimes.
Yeah, it depends on the
Yeah.
evening and what I'm
Yeah.
doing, but
Yeah. For
yeah,
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Or I
Some
almost
nights
feel
I
like
have a
maybe
hard
more
time staying
productive.
awake past 10,
Yeah.
but then most of the nights I got no problem 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. If you could time travel, would you go to the past or the future?
Oh, I definitely go back to the past.
Okay. Why?
Yeah, I always said that if I could go back to just for a day, I would like to go back to a Queen concert.
Oh yeah. You can't
I'd
experience
love
that
to
anymore.
see.
Yeah. Me.
I would just love to see Freddie.
Yeah.
Freddie Mercury, young, on stage. I would
Mm-hmm.
love to see them perform. They
Wow.
only performed once in Canada,
Yeah.
but I would have gone anywhere
Yeah.
to see them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I could go back to one day, if I had one day just to go back,
Yeah.
I'd love to go back
Right.
and see him in concert.
Yeah. Where were they in Canada? Was it Montreal?
I believe it was Montreal that they
Yeah.
played.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Great. Well, I want to thank you very much for your time and thanks for
Well,
being on
it's
the show.
been a pleasure. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Yeah. We talked for I think it's been the recordings for an hour and 43 minutes. So
There you go.
that's pretty solid. That's pretty
That works
solid.
for me. I can talk forever. That's my
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. Well, it's just, I don't know, not really a problem, but it works. It works, and it's a
Well,
blessing and a curse, we'll say.
definitely,
Yeah.
because I go down rabbit holes, and
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
rabbit hole will lead to another 6 rabbit holes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then before I know it, I forgot what I was talking about initially.
I know. I'm always going off on tangents. My goodness. Okay, thank you guys all so much for hanging out with me and Chris for this last little bit, whether you're watching it on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple, wherever. We thank you very much for just sitting here and, just enjoying the time. Make sure to follow the show on Instagram at Off the Record with Jordan Rance and subscribe to the YouTube, same name. And look out for new episodes every single Friday at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever it may be. We are out of here. I hope you all have an excellent rest of your day. Peace.